Jack here, owner of Hockey Alley, bringing you back hockey history. Today I have NHL player defenseman Tom Laidlaw. How are you, Tom?
Excellent, Jack. How are you doing today?
Very good, thank you. So you played for the Rangers and the Kings, correct?
Yes, I did. That's the only two teams that wanted me at that point, Jack.
And you had a great career. How many years did you play in the NHL?
I was very lucky. I got to play 11 years. I got traded at the end of my seventh season here with the Rangers and then had four more out in Los Angeles.
Okay. And you played. Did you play junior hockey prior to college hockey?
I played Junior B in my hometown. We had the Bramley Blues. We're in it's awful. I can't remember the name of the league now. But we actually won the All Ontario Junior B Championship the year before I went to college, or 2 years before I went to college. So it was great. And then Northern Michigan came along and offered me a scholarship, and I went up there.
So back then, Junior B, they recruited college teams recruited out of Junior B, correct?
Yes, they did. Yep, heavily. So my first year at Northern Michigan was the first year they had the hockey program. Mm-hmm. So our coach at the time, Rick Comley, had to be a little bit creative to get players to come up there. So he took the approach that he took a lot of guys from one team. So there's actually four guys off my team that I was playing on at the time that went, and I think two or three other guys that were on the team I was on but went other places. So we all knew each other. That was part of the attraction of going up there, and it worked out well.
Wow. Four guys for one team, that's unheard of. You never see that.
Yeah, it was fun, right? Because so my parents, we grew up on a farm, dairy farm just outside of Brampton, Ontario. Didn't have a whole lot of money. The fantastic upbringing, and the offer of a scholarship for them was huge for me to go get an education and have the school pay for it. And for me, it was great. I had a chance as a freshman to not have to sit on the bench like a lot of freshmen do when you go up there. I was lucky. I got to be a 4-year captain, and again, be up there with a lot of the guys I played junior with.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. One question I have, and a lot of average fans don't know, how did you get good to make it to the NHL? So as to make it to the NHL, not everybody makes it. How did you get good to make it?
That's a great question. I do a lot of motivational speaking now through my company, True Grit Life, and it's really forced me to go back and look at my life and how I had successes or failures and how I recovered from failures. And one of the biggest things for me was my upbringing, growing up on the farm. My father and my grandfather ran the dairy farm. And again, we did not have a whole lot of money, so they had to maintain the equipment meticulously. They had to get up every day to milk the cows. They couldn't really hire anybody else because they didn't have enough money. So I learned from them that, and they ended up being great men, and I had a great life. Our family had a great life. So I learned from them it's really that daily grind of doing it the right way. So it isn't just getting up and doing it. So now for me, I get up every day at 3:30 in the morning. I make my bed perfect every day before I leave the room. I go for a march in the morning instead of a walk because I want to get the most out of each stride. So it's really that mentality about doing it the right way. I'll never forget my grandfather on the farm. He went to buy a neighbor's truck one time. He opened up the hood and there was dust on the engine, so he wouldn't buy it because when he washed his car or his truck, he washed the engine too because he wanted to maintain it. Yeah. So their mentality about doing it the right way was really how I had success in all the things I've done in my life, including hockey. I just learned the little things. If I'm a defensive defenseman, so if I'm playing a one-on-one, my job's to play the body. Coming out of our zone, my job's to put the pass right on my teammate's stick. So those kinds of things, really, because I do not say this humbly, it's just the truth. I really wasn't the best player on any team I ever played on. I just learned how to do my job and do it the right way all the time.
So you give 100% no matter what, and that's what it is. It's a lot, no shortcuts,
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Especially, I did a podcast recently with an old teammate of mine, Tim Waters. We played together in LA, and we were talking about that, and that the good thing for us was that we were not that talented. So we knew that when we came to practice and games, that we had to show up and do our job all out every time we were out there because we were not talented enough just to survive on talent alone. So we kind of laughed about it. That was our saving grace, right? That's why we played in the NHL, because we really weren't that good. We just had to work hard at it.
I'm sure you guys were good. Not everybody makes it to the NHL. It's not, out of the millions of people, it's about maybe 5,000-6,000 have ever played in the NHL. It's like a small town if you think about it.
It's true.
A small percentage, so it's an honor.
Yeah, it is true. You think back, like if you're 8 years old and somebody told you you're going to play in the National Hockey League for more than a decade, you'd be like, "Sign me up, right? Sign me up."
Yeah. Did your game change at all when you got to the NHL?
It did, yes. So my first year, Freddie Shero started off as the head coach. He got fired halfway through the year, then Craig Patrick took over. And I had a pretty good, a decently good offensive season. I think like 6 goals and 20 some assists. So I really felt like going into the next season, I really felt good about my overall, that I was going to be an all-around defenseman, not just a defensive defenseman. Yeah. That next season, Herb Brooks came in and coached us, and he had different plans for me, and he was right. I guess I really wasn't, the role he ultimately put me into was the role I deserved to be in. I should have been in. He actually, so we went through training camp his first year, my second year. The day before our first regular season game, we had a practice at Rye Playland, our practice facility, and he gets the whole team together, and he's saying, Barry Beck, this is your job. Ron Gresham, this is your job. And he gets to me near the end, and he goes, Laidlaw, when you get the puck, give it to somebody else. You're not supposed to have it. Oh. And I know, and the guys were dying laughing. What I was like, well, boys, he picking on me kind of mentality. But yeah. In the end, he was right. He made it really clear that I would have a very successful career if I realized what my job was, and that was my job, and do it to the best of your abilities. And that's so I became more of that defensive defenseman, killing penalties all the time. And he made sure that he saw me adjust my game a little bit, so he made sure I was rewarded for that and played me in all those defensive roles. He made sure that I was that guy, so it worked out well.
That's awesome. Did Herb Brooks ever use the same coaching style as he did for the Miracle team? So he was the guy who won the gold medal in 1980.
Yep.
He was a coach.
Yep. Yeah, so he played, I think from the way the movie seemed and from talking to the guys, we had some guys on our team like Mark Pavlich and Rob McClanahan. Yes. But from talking to them, he didn't treat us the same way. He still was the same coach, but I think he played a lot more mind games with those guys than he did with us. I think he knew that we were adults more, and he didn't do us. No, he was still he would come down. So he knew my personality, being the old farm boy and everything. I didn't want somebody coming down asking me if I was okay. I just wanted to know that they wanted me out on the ice, no matter how I was, how tired I was, how hurt I was. Yeah. So near the end of games, if we were up by a goal, it's 30 seconds to go, we need to kill a penalty. He would literally come down and kick me in the ass and say, get the F out there, and and it would fire me up because all I thought was, he doesn't care if I'm at 75% or 60% or 80%, whatever it is. He wants me on the ice. And that just, to me, that fired me up. That's what I wanted. And I think back about it, I don't even know if I knew I wanted it back then. I look at it now and I realize that's what I wanted, but he knew it before me. So he was good that way.
So he read the players really well. That's a good coach.
Yeah. And he really took his time. I'll tell you, he did his homework on players. He talked to other players, their coaches in the past. He really knew who everybody was and what made them tick.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Who was your toughest player to play against, skill-wise? Like someone coming in on you one-on-one and that you had a tougher time with?
There's a lot of talented guys, but Gilbert Perreault. So growing up where I did in Brampton, we could get the Buffalo Sabres games. So I grew up watching. Yeah, so I grew up watching him play all the time. A big bow-legged guy, and he would beat guys all the time one-on-one. So that's all my vision I had in my head of Gilbert Perreault was him beating people one-on-one. So when he came down to me, I just said to myself, I'm not going to get beat by Gilbert Perreault. I'm just going to back up as far as I can so he can't beat me. But, you get over that after a while. It's just the awe of, playing in the NHL. You've watched it all this time. But at first, when you go out there, that would be the guy that, I remember it vividly. We were playing in the Buffalo Auditorium there, and he came down. And all I could think about was the vision of me watching him play all the time. So that's cool.
Yeah. Anything on Nick Fotiu? Did he grow up late, starting hockey late? Is that true? Was that?
Yeah, he did. Yep. Yeah, I don't think he started playing hockey till he's 10, 11, 12. He used to take the train. He's from Staten Island. So he'd take the train in late at night, and he would carry an axe around in his bag because it was dangerous someplace he needed to protect himself. So he was a dedicated. The fans loved him. He's a great teammate, funny guy, real good practical joker. He got me in trouble. He had this little practical joke where after the games he would put baby powder in the hair dryers. Oh. So when guys went our shower and everything, and he got traded away. So I kind of took over that role as the practical joker. So one game I thought, okay, I'm going to be smart here. I'm going to set it up before the game so I don't have to worry about it after the game. The guys won't be watching me or whatever. So I set up. Now we had an assistant coach who was kind of like the eye in the sky, and he had this whole routine where he would work out, shower, put his contact lenses in, and then dry his hair. And he would time it all so it was just perfect. And he'd be done that, and then he'd go upstairs and get ready for the game. So we were. I went and put there's 5 hair dryers. I put baby powder in one of the hair dryers. So we're just about to get up to, like, we've got through the warm-ups, we're trying to get serious, we're about to go on the ice for the game. The hairdryer goes on, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God. Like, and he grabbed the one where I put the baby powder in, and he's screaming. He goes, "Laidlaw, I'm going to kill you!" And the guys are dying laughing, and we're about to go on for the game. It was hilarious. I would love to tell you that I actually set it up on purpose that way, but it was really accidental. So it was very funny. And so it was Nick's fault.
And the guys were probably loose enough that they weren't tense out there. They probably played well.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it was pretty funny. I guess one of those bonding things too. It kind of pulls everybody together. So yeah, it's good.
How about Barry Beck? How tough was he?
Oh, a monster. So he was in a tough spot too, because they'd gone to the finals in '79, and then the season after that is when they traded 5 guys away from that team and brought in Barry. And still, it was a great trade. I mean, he was a fantastic player. He could do everything. He could skate, shoot, fight, run the power play, kill penalties. He's a leader, funny guy. But there was a lot of pressure on him because they'd gone so far, and then they gave up 5 guys. But he was a great teammate, great leader. Just loved playing with him. I was fortunate that I was I was the assistant captain, so we kind of had to work together. It was my job as assistant captain. If Barry said this is the way something was going to be, it was my job to make sure the guys said, okay, yes, that's the way it is going to be, and back him up. And loved doing it. He was great to play with.
That's awesome. My channel is a lot about hockey sticks, the history of hockey sticks.
Yeah.
What kind of hockey sticks did you use over the years?
It was mainly Sherwood throughout most of my career. I think I did use Coho for a while. But I was terrible. So Carol Vadney was a great old player too, and he was just retiring when I was coming in, and then he was becoming coach. Yeah. And he kind of became a mentor for me. Like, he really saw something in me and really wanted to help me. And he had Vad had the French accent and everything. I'll never forget the stick rep from Sherwood came in one time, and Vad came over to the guy, and I respected Vad so much. The guy says, "Tommy, this is the stick you're going to use." And you want the big blade like this? And I said, okay, Matt, if you say so, that's what we're doing. So yeah, it was the Sherwood, and what he taught me was that, again, along with what Herb Brooks said, I was a defensive defenseman. I didn't need to have this tiny little blade to stick handle with. I needed a bigger blade to intercept passes. Yeah, and so it was Vad that got me the stick, and it was. I think it's still actually when I play in alumni games, and I've still got a wooden stick, and everybody's like, "Oh, where did you get that?" It's an antique.
What do you think of the composites and all the top sticks now, like all the light?
Well, I'm a terrible stick handler as it is, but when I use those sticks, the puck seems to bounce even more for me. So I don't. I've got a couple of them, but I don't use. I mean, I can use them, but I'm much better off with the wooden stick. Again, I think they're fantastic for the players. The way they function. The whip in it, and how it makes the shot harder, and how light it is. So it's great for the players today. But again, they've grown up using that stick. I've never used it, so just not used to it.
Yeah, the wood sticks have better feel as far as feeling the puck. It's way better.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Any other funny stories happen over the years with the Rangers?
Oh yeah, tons of fun stories. Well, going back to a Nick Fotiu story, in LaGuardia Airport, back then we didn't take a lot of chartered flights. In fact, very rarely did we take a chartered flight. It was usually a commercial flight. And we were coming back from a flight late at night, and there's construction like there usually is at LaGuardia. So there's all kinds of those orange construction cones. So I'm in my car with like 2 or 3 other guys, and Nick is ahead of him by himself in his car. He's ahead of us. So we go to a stoplight, and there's a construction zone there. So I get out, and I sneak over to Nick's car, grab one of the orange cones, and I put it on top of his car. So we're snickering like a bunch of little kids, like this is really funny. And Nick pulls up to another stoplight, and there's a police officer standing there. Now the police officer, I don't know what he was thinking, but he starts giving Nick a hard time, thinking that Nick was trying to steal the cone. And Nick was also mad that the police officer didn't recognize him, know who he was. So Nick's going to get out of the car and have a confrontation with the cop. We have to get out of the car and go to the cop and say, this is Nick Fotiu for the Rangers, and explain to Nick that we put the cone on top. And he was in no mood to listen to what we had to say at the time, so it was pretty funny. There's a lot of stuff like that. We had a good time back then. One of the big things with the NHL was that it was a real, like, the bonding thing, like being the guys. It was important. It was crucial that on and off the ice, the guys were close, and we had really close teams in New York.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that happens today or not in the NHL. I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah,
the new
it's
generation.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, guys are making, like, some guys are making $12 million, other guys are making $2 million. So, like,
Yeah.
even that kind of stuff, it's just, I think the guys are still great guys, team guys. But part of it was for us, and it's kind of weird to explain this to people. But drinking beer was part of it too. Now that wasn't totally healthy for us, but the team would supply after games, after practices, on planes, on bus.
Yeah.
It was all the guys all getting together. And somebody asked me the other day, would you play better if you guys weren't drinking beer? And I understand the science and the logic with it. You can say yes, it's true, but I just, it was the human spirit and the will and everything. It was men together.
Yeah.
And we all knew, okay, listen, if we're going to go out for a few beers after the game tomorrow at practice, you better work your tail off, because we all know what we've done tonight. So there's no excuses saying, well, I had too many beers last night. It didn't work that way. It was like, okay, you want to go for a beer with the boys? We can go do that. In fact, it's important. We look forward to it. But you got to work hard when you get to practice the next day.
Yeah, that's a promise you guys made. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Yeah, and playing for the Kings, that team was loaded with talent. I think 89, you guys had quite a bit of players that
Yep.
were scoring. And what do you think of the team?
Wow. So I got traded at the end of the 86-87 season at the trade deadline. And we had a great team then. Luke Robitaille, Jimmy Carson were young players, Jay Wells, Dave Taylor, Bob Bourne was there from the Islanders. So that was a good team. Nobody knew about it that much. We wore the old purple and gold jerseys. And then, in the summer of 89, when Wayne Gretzky got traded there, I remember sitting back in my home. Back then, only ESPN was the only source of the sports news, and we started hearing rumors in the morning. It was on that Wayne Gretzky might get traded, and we're all like, "No way, he's not getting traded." And then when we found out it was happening, and he was traded to the Kings that I was playing on, it was like, wow, like you just felt like you were a whole different team. You're a different player yourself. And, we were good. We had the black and silver, and it was just—I'll never forget. We went into Montreal one night, probably about 3/4 of the way through the season. We were high in the standings, and Montreal was good too. And Larry Robinson was still playing, and Guy Lafleur and everything. And Race was lined up for the face-off at the start. It's a Saturday night Hockey Night Canada game. I'm on the bench, and Ray Scampanella's lining up, and he leans. At that time, you've got kind of a relationship with the linesman because you played for so long. And he leans over to me. He goes, "Tommy, this is unbelievable." And he was all fired up. And just the feeling that and to be part of those games with those big name players, and then Larry Robinson, who I totally admired, he got traded to the Kings later on. I got to play with him, so I was just so lucky in my career. And I started off my career when Phil Esposito was playing, and Steve Vickers, and Walt Kachuk, and Anders Hedberg, Ulf Nielsen, all those great players, and then end up with Wayne Gretzky, Larry Robinson, Dave Taylor, John Tonelli, Bob Bourne, all those guys. So I was very fortunate in my career to play with some great players and great people too.
And Bernie Nichols, you were there. He scored 70 goals.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. One of the funniest stories. There's a funny story because Wayne Gretzky was trying to break Gordie Howe's point record at one point. His first year with the Kings, I think it was like 890 points. I can't remember what it was. And so Gordie Howe was following us around. We were on the road, which was fantastic. He hang out with Gordie Howe, and Wayne went for a couple of games without points there. So Gordie's hanging around with us even longer. So it was great for us. We're hanging around with Gordie Howe, and then happen to be in Edmonton. Wayne's 1 point behind, and we get a 4-on-4, and we put on. Wayne, Bernie, Steve Duchesne, and myself was kind of like that defensive player. And they had on like Mark Messier, Paul Coffey, Charlie Huddy, Yuri Curry. So it was like a Hall of Fame. And then I'm out there. So we're in the offensive zone. And as of course, they're not covering me. They're leaving me alone. They're paying attention to Wayne. Now I'm all alone in the slot. Wayne gets the puck, and of course he gets it to me. And Bernie Nichols at the side of the net. He's all tied up. Now I'm in panic mode, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, I'm on a breakaway here. I think it was Bill Ramford in that. And I think I don't know how to score. I'm not a goal scorer at all. What am I doing here? So Bernie's all tied up to the side of the net. And I said, I'm passing it to Bernie no matter what. Because he's on that roll, scored 70 goals. He's got the magic hands. So he happens to, he's able to tip it in and score. And the crowd goes nuts. And there's all this big ceremony and everything. And it's interesting because if you watch the play, if film, it looks like this great play. But Bernie and I are laughing at each other because he comes to me and goes, "What were you doing passing to me? I was covered." I didn't want it. I want to get rid of it. So it was pretty funny. It looked great on film, but it was pretty funny.
That's awesome. And is it true Wayne ate 4 hot dogs and a couple of sodas before a game? Is that true?
No. Listen, I remember one time before a preseason game, I saw him eat a cheeseburger, but no, he wasn't. He may have, at some rare occasion done that, but no, that was not a regular thing that Wayne did. No.
Okay, and did he drink the Diet Cokes? Was that something that he did?
Yeah, I believe he did that. Yes, he did that. Yeah.
Okay.
But he was, again, times are different. and he was rumored as like they're talking about working out or whatever. He says, well, "I've never seen a weight score a goal or whatever," and that was back then. But I'll tell you, he worked hard. Like when it came practice time, I'll never forget him and Larry Robinson. Like they were fun-loving guys. They were like little kids. They loved being with the guys, drinking beers. But when it came practice time and it came time to work, man, they worked. Not only did they work hard, but they were having fun working hard too. So they were dedicated.
And your teammate in the past was Robbie Fatorik, correct? And then he was your
Yes.
coach.
Yeah, love Robbie Fatorik. Loved him. Them still do. One of the most disciplined, guy I've ever seen, ever played. And he was that way as a coach too. I once had a conversation with him, because it was different for him coaching Wayne, right? Wayne, and in a very good way, because we all knew it was Wayne. So when Wayne stayed out there for one of those 3 or 4 minute shifts, it didn't look like he was being selfish. Wayne was doing what he thought was right for the team. He was on a roll. He thought he could make something happen. But Robbie Fatorik was very disciplined. His way of life and his way he coached was that everybody played by the same rules. He and Wayne got along fine. It's just their styles of the game were just different. Yeah. And so total respect for Robbie. In fact, he said to me, he said, "Listen, Tom, the coaches get fired no matter what." He says, I'm going to coach my way. If I get fired, I get fired. It's going to happen no matter what. So total respect for him.
I thought he was a great coach myself.
Yes, I did too. Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
totally.
Very talented.
Preparation. It's a certain kind of guys like me were made for Robbie Fatorik and vice versa. Like guys like Wayne, it just wasn't a good fit. Doesn't mean anything wrong with either one of them. Just a bad fit.
Yeah. And if you were commissioner of the NHL, what rules would you add or change?
Wow.
Anything that you see today that you don't like?
Yeah. Here's what I don't like.
Yes.
If there's a big hit now, the team that gets hit, somebody feels like they've got to jump in and get into a fight immediately, which is terrible for your team, and it's it's not smart. So big hits used to happen in the past, and what we do is we'd go to the guy that made the hit, say, "You're going to get it. We're going to get you later on in the game. You keep your head up all game long." This way, you don't take the 2-minute instigator penalty, which mainly happens now, which usually happens to the player. Yes. And it's just you're still sticking up for your teammate, but like hits are part of the game. That as long as they're legal hits, they're part of the game. You don't want to see your teammate get hit, but you can stop it in another way. Show that player. So that game, let's say it happens early in the game. Keep yapping to that player all during the game. Now all he's thinking about all game long is, okay, who's coming to get me, right? So you're now kind of taking him out of the game because you've taken your time. You still can go get him, even if you don't get him that game. There's still another game you're going to play against him. So that's to me the one part is like, let the big hit happen. You're right. Don't let somebody hurt your teammate. Stick up for him, but stick up for him in the right way.
I just see everybody getting upset, getting hit. That was part of the game. I mean, it's changed now.
Well, yeah, it's that instant gratification kind of thing, right? I've got to do something about it right now. Well, that's the worst time to do something about it because you're going to take that extra penalty. Yeah. It's just, it seems like everybody's doing it now. It's almost like, I wonder, do the coaches say to the players, "Listen, do not do that"? I don't know.
They don't. And you were on the show called Survivor.
Yep. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in. Jerry Bruckheimer, the producer, who I think he owns a piece of the Seattle Kraken now. I believe he owns a piece of the Survivor, Big Brother, and Amazing Race. So he came to the NHL and asked to get a couple of older guys to go on Amazing Race. The NHL then approached me through the Rangers. And I couldn't find anybody. I got in trouble because I said this publicly, but all the old guys that I knew were all fat and out of shape, so they couldn't go on the show. So it then turned. Then I had a guy working with me who knew one of the people working for Survivor. They then asked me about that and went through the process and ultimately made it on the show. That was a blast. We were in Fiji. It was a great experience. Again, I do all this motivational speaking now, and I really say to people, if there's something you want to do in your life, don't make excuses to put it off or just not do it. Like, don't say, "Well, I'm too old," or "I'll do it tomorrow," or whatever. And to me, it was that was the biggest thing. I remember when we got put on the island out there and we were just surviving out in the island. We had a machete, pot, we had a bag of rice, and we had to figure it out from there. And it was, I think, wow, this is cool. This area, I was 60, I think I was 60 years old when I was out there. I was the oldest player out there. I was the first Canadian on the show. So it was cool. It was a great adventure.
Did the hockey skills help you at all with the show?
Well, so much, so much of it is mental. So I really wanted to be the leader that I was as a player. And, it helped me because I was older. A lot of the players were all in their 20s and everything, so they did look up to me a little bit. At least at first they did. As the game got going, that kind of faded away a little bit. My competitiveness may have hurt me because I wanted to win every challenge. and that was my focus. That's not always the focus of all players. Sometimes the strategy is to, like, someone will even try to lose the challenge because they want to get somebody voted off. So, yeah, I think in some ways it helped the competitiveness. But, the game really has evolved to now. There is strategy to it, but a lot of the strategy is get somebody else voted off other than me so I don't get voted off. That's a big part of the strategy.
And what's the worst thing you ate?
Now they don't have bad food like in the past shows. They eating bugs and stuff like that. We didn't do that. Now, they don't do that anymore. Yeah,
no more. Okay.
So we have a bag of rice, and then we eat coconuts. I did not realize how much of a diuretic coconuts were, but I found out pretty quickly. So it was. One of the funny things about the show is it's for real. There's no toilet papers. There's no toilets. You're sleeping in the dirt. So they teach you when you go to the bathroom to go out in the ocean. They call it aqua bomb. But the funny thing is, once you do your business, everything's floating on the top of the water, and it's the ocean. So the waves are crashing in. So you're trying to run away from your own poop out in the ocean. I wish somebody had filmed me doing it because it was just hilarious. I was dying laughing at myself because I never thought I'd be doing that, but it was funny.
Yeah. And you have a website?
Yes, I do. So my business, the motivational and mentoring business, is truegritlife.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Real Tom Laidlaw or Facebook at Tom Laidlaw. Again, we've got a book coming out here, hopefully very soon. Again, my life has never been better. I've learned more about making myself healthy. I cook all my own foods. I'm up at 3:30 in the morning. I make the bed perfect. My life's all about discipline, motivating other people, and I motivate myself through it too. So, yeah, again, Real Tom Laidlaw on Instagram, Tom Laidlaw on Facebook, and then the website is truegritlife.com.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You're doing great for people. I mean, we need more people like you.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I've learned a lot of stuff I did not know before. And there's a real mental health issue here, around the world, really. With all the pandemics going on and a lot of other things, social media influence. And so I've really learned, again, how to help myself and help other people. It's kind of, I use the comparison that when you're on the airplane, the flight attendant tells you, to put on that mask first before you help somebody else, right? So you've got to get yourself better before you can help somebody else. And I've learned that, and I've really worked hard on myself. And I feel better than I ever have. I really feel like I love myself now better than I ever have before. So it's great.
That's awesome. Tom, I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking to me on my channel and bringing back hockey history. It's just awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, great show, Jack. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take
Have
care.
a great day.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep.